Hello and welcome back to the BDTV Breakfast Show. This is the social listening segment right here where we break down some of the stories making the round on social media. My name is Elizabeth Musa and with me this morning is
Onyeka Valentine.
Onyeka Valentine.
Right
Well,
here.
let's talk about some of the stories making the rounds on social media today. Nigerian professors are calling for a minimum salary of 2.5 million naira a month. Right now, many professors in federal universities earn about 600,000 naira after decades of study and years of service. Meanwhile, reports say senators take home as much as 21 million naira monthly, even though the minimum qualifications to enter the Senate is just a secondary school certificate. Ironical, right? Now, the wide gap has triggered debate online about whether Nigeria truly values education. Remember, we're talking about education and reforms that the educational sector needs. But now, beyond the classroom and curriculum and all of that, reward for reward for education, where is it? So if the Senate is earning 21 million naira, they can take home 21 million naira monthly. When they have you see some of our senators speaking, you'll be like, what's going on? That's because some of them have just a secondary school certificate, because that's literally the minimum qualification. I remember last week one of the stories that we've taken on to social listening segment was also addressing this, this poor reward for people who have put in so much into academic excellence. So I mean, the debates online are very much in order, if you ask me.
In fact, I think it's even coming too late. Should have come a bit sooner. For what it's worth, let us, for crying out loud sake, if we must put round pegs into round holes, begin to say that it is, I think university lecturers who are the kingmakers, university professors who are the quote and unquote, the ones who pave the way, who make presidents, right? Who create, like they say, it takes a community to build to raise a child. These are the people who actually, design communities. These are the people who design how structures should work. They crack their brains every now and then to create new models. Your lecturers and teachers are so important that, without even thinking about it twice, I think they should have been earning this money a long time ago. The call for them to earn as much as those senators are earning, as much as some politicians are earning, I think you should be earning more than that. Because like you rightly said, let's put it this way. I remember during the screening of ministerial screening, and they do screening generally before they get into office, right? You hear them talk. Now, they might be sound politically. They might know how to play the political game. But when it comes to institution and character and learning, they are fine lacking. These are the areas we need to ask questions. And so those who will teach you, lecture you how to have those areas in place to make you more qualified to run the affairs of this nation, you treat them any less? I don't think it makes any sense. So I am all for let them earn as much as those senators, those House of Rep, even earn more. Because look at the total package. Somebody's going home with almost 20-something million naira, which obviously basic salary, security, this, maybe wardrobe package, transportation package, housing allowance, that allowance, healthcare, travel this, travel that, and all that as a whole. And then you now look at our university lecturers earning 500K.
And you know what's sad? The fact that when you look at the 600,000 naira, and you think about the fact that in some working places, that's literally like an entry-level salary. And then some of these people who have
25 years
served in schools,
years.
poured out themselves, lecture upon lecture, extensive lectures, examinations, and then they still get to be paid this amount.
And this is the bad part. The economy itself is even strangling people even more. It's becoming more of a bottleneck to actually see you want to feed. If you run a family of 3 kids, your wife, and then stewards and every other thing. He doesn't even cut it for 1 week, let alone for 1 month. And this is the sad part. Even after that 1 month, the salary wouldn't come on time. So what does this mean? What this means is that you are pushing these lecturers and professors to think of other businesses to survive. And if that happens consistently, what that means is that the time they could have dedicated to giving quality lectures, the time they could have dedicated to grow the university, put the university on the world map, so that in the future you have people coming to Nigeria, right, based on scholarship and other areas to learn some key skills and educational, upwardness, to use that kind of word, in Nigeria will reduce. Why? Because our educational system, university system, will reduce in value. Because these professors and lecturers, because they're not earning much based on salary, want to look elsewhere, right, to subsidize, look elsewhere, to do other businesses, to add to what they do as their primary responsibility, which is lecturing and running the university. What am I saying in the long run? This call for them to receive this amount of money is justified. You might think 21 million is a lot of money. There are some private companies that do turnover of billions every month. Now, that's just some private companies. What about the area regarding the government itself? The amount of wastage that is going on with gas flare, if we're able to harness it properly and say, okay, this gas flare that is wasting into the air, let us channel such a way that we can make money and add that funds into, powering universities, add that funds into making sure that security in the country is okay. I tell you, we'll have no need going to borrow money from IMF or borrow money from the World Bank. A lot is being wasted already. What about the area of mining? As I speak to you right now, there's some certain areas in the north that have mining going on illegally. We hear only recently, I don't know if you heard about the story, recently, that there's an airstrip that is not registered under FAN. That's not registered under the Airport Authority of Nigeria. They have no idea of it. But that airstrip is somewhere within Kogi or within the Middle Belt. So the question is, what's that airstrip doing there? It's all about the internet. Now, some say it's alleged, but again, let's assume that let's agree that it's alleged, that it doesn't exist there. But the fact that the story has gone out there on the internet, can someone go and verify? What am I saying? We are losing a lot of resources in those areas. If those resources are well channeled, we can use that, add it to the salaries of our professors or our lecturers. So a lot of wastage going on. So
let's also see some of the comments on social media and see how Nigerians are reacting to this particular conversation online. There have been loads and loads of comment. There's a comment from JP Okuba. JP says, I don't have too much empathy for those professors. They helped enthrone these politicians, and they will most likely, I think, is it return? Something like that. So they'll most likely repeat same when they get the opportunity in 2027. Let's see more reactions on social. Uzochukwu says 2.5 million is too small compared to what politicians that never went to school are stealing daily. They should request for 10 million.
I see 2.5 million. The money we're talking about is not 21 million naira.
So that's the lecturers are demanding for 2.5 million.
Okay,
to be paid. Yes, that's basic salary. So what this person is trying to juxtapose is saying that in fact it's too small compared to those politicians who are earning 21 million.
Fine.
So he's saying they should go as much as requesting for 10 million. Like 2.5 is too small. They don't need to go for 21 million, but they should at least request for 10 million. That's what Uzochukwu is saying. Let's see more reactions. Chief Unjoku says, if they can pay over 20 million monthly to senators who contribute nothing to the country, then the professors down to primary school teachers deserve better too. That's from Chief Unjoku. AJ Daniel says, when lawmakers earn millions for barely showing up, professors asking for 2.5 million naira isn't greed, it's justice. Let's value intellect the same way we value politics. And I agree with that. I agree with that remark from AJ Daniel. But, the conversations are just going on and on and on and on. It's quite interesting, really. I think, just like that person says, 2.5 million is actually scratching the surface. But that's them just being, they're just I mean, they're just being realistic in the real sense of it. I think that person that said, oh, in fact, 2.5 million is just basically comparing and saying, oh, if these guys can earn 21 million, then they could. I mean, let's not even go that far. They do deserve a 2.5 million, at least.
In all ramifications, let's be very honest and straightforward with this thing. The value they bring to the table is not quantified. You can't quantify it to the kind of what's called other areas.
Absolutely.
Theirs is just clear. Our university professors and lecturers add huge value.
Absolutely, and just training the leaders of tomorrow, really. But still talking about some of the ills in a society and some of the unfortunate things that are happening. Let's move to our second story now, where tragedy has struck for reality TV star Phyna. Her sister Ruth Otabo has passed away following a truck accident in Edo State. Ruth earlier survived the crash on August 13, where her leg was amputated after being crushed by a Dangote truck near Auchi Polytechnic. Sadly, she died yesterday, weeks after the accident, at the age of 27. The family, through a statement, asked for privacy as they grieve this painful loss. You know, it was really sad because last week on Social Listening, we had to take this story where we had spoken about, you know, I mentioned the fact that the Phyna, which is the sister of this young lady here who has unfortunately died at the young age of 27, Phyna had mentioned that, in fact, they need to take her sister abroad because her situation was really, really bad, and she had no business even trying to get healthcare here because the situation had already gotten really bad. Having amputated her leg, she had mentioned the fact that her life is already next to nothing. But just to even get a little bit of semblance of at least hope, let them take this girl abroad. And I know that what had followed was some back and forth, and they had said, oh, she will indeed be taken abroad when she's fit to travel. And that was also another conversation online because people were asking, we don't know how bad the situation is. What really do they mean by her being fit to travel? Again, there's so many areas. There's so many. I'm really sad by this story. There's so many areas for us to touch on today. We can touch on our failing healthcare sector. Not even failing, failed, because firstly, we shouldn't have even been having a conversation of saying, oh, she needs to be moved abroad. I mean, there should have been hospitals that could take care of her. Let's say that's even the case. No, number two, the main one, this issue of Dangote trucks, this issue of trucks killing people as if it's nothing, and then the government is not doing anything about it in terms of, do we have to make sure that these trucks drive at night? There should be some code of conduct, not these things happening over and over again. The other day I had Rachel here, who is our colleague here, and she has spoken about how she was in university. Every other day in front of their gate, a Dangote truck kills a person, and as if it's nothing. Every other day. Now this was real life experience. I'm saying it that we see this death every other day, but if not that this one is related to someone who was popular, we won't be having the conversation. But these things are happening every day. Something needs to be done.
Honestly, no, normally when we hear stories like this, I want to probably say something that might sound a bit easy, but in this case, nothing can prepare any family for this. I'm finding it hard to use the right words. I'm almost holding back myself. See this young lady, promising young lady. It just goes to show you that apart from the health sector, apart from some certain other sectors that could also contribute to this kind of thing, generally the people that lose their life on the daily in this country, more than 90% can be prevented. This young lady's death could have been prevented if that company as a whole made sure they had qualified drivers to mount that driver's seat, to drive a trailer. Look, to drive a trailer carrying goods or petroleum product is totally different from driving a normal vehicle. you must have the level of patience of almost, what will I say, a biblical person, right? But we don't see these things. I want to start with the angle of the vehicle itself. If you're driving a vehicle like that, you must make sure your brakes are working. You must make sure everything is intact. In fact, we must be able to call out Dangote, trucks and their company, whatever, to say, look, give and take. Not just buying new tires, but making sure the driver themselves are taken for some certain, health checks to make sure they are sound mentally. Because whether or not you like it, most of these drivers, they take a lot of illicit, content, a lot of things that they take just to keep them awake. It could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be anything. Having said that, right, I know that they can't mitigate or control all drivers and see what they do 100%. But having said that, this is a call to action to say, recall all your drivers.
There needs to be accountability.
Retrain them. Because this young lady that died now, a lot of other people have died this way that never made it to the headlines. We're only hearing of this now because it's related to Phyna. Again, may her gentle soul rest in peace. But having said that also, the area of now the healthcare, let's assume we have a healthcare system. Even if we had the hospital, I'm not making the case for hospital, but even if we had a hospital right at that scene, there's what we call dead on arrival. If the impact was so grave, or rather was so severe that the person couldn't make it to the hospital, that's a different case. This one is to the hospital. Another thing is that we don't even know the extent of the injury that could have probably given room for infection. And that's another one part. What if by the time she got to the hospital, the doctors tried their best, which they did, I said to amputate the leg before it becomes another issue. What if infection had gone through, right, and found its way into other organs of the body? Even at that, the doctors will tell you, don't forget, there's the part that we're not seeing. They have the legal medical area, where a doctor who is even well trained internationally, gone to all the universities, has 20 to 30 years experience, will tell you, I can't touch this case. Does that make him a bad doctor? He has seen the odds, and knowing that the case already has gotten on social media, so everyone has their eye on it. They will tell you, look, fly her abroad. Now, there's a problem now. The visa arrangement, the back and forth, I think that is where the government is looking to say, when there's an emergency, there should be reason to boycott all those formalities and fly the person to the area where he or she will get that immediate health check. Not just health check, also if it's surgery or whatever it is. And later talk about the area of the immigration or visa, all that stuff. But are we wired to respond like that? That's one. In this other case, she might obviously maybe could have been far gone. And they said to themselves, if we move on like this turbulent issue on the road, she might not make it.
Yeah, Valentine, I think you should just hold your thought for a bit. Let's see some of the reactions on social media as to how Nigerians are reacting to this conversation. Sumola says, Phyna cried for them to fly her out of the country, despite our own truck causing our accident, leading to amputation of arms and legs. Instead, Dangote wanted to save face. MK Paul says, I would have said that Dangote should be sued. But unfortunately, in this country and the amount of money he has, he is above the law. Free LZZZ says, how many more lives before accountability? I think that's what you've been really hammering on. When the rich remain untouchable and the poor keep paying with their blood. Absolutely. Dear Nigerians 25 says, Dangote trucks have been taking thousands of lives all these years, and anyone could be a victim. How many more lives does it take for us to say enough is enough? Those are the questions this morning, really. And it's just sad that we're asking these questions when another bright promising young mind has just died, unfortunately, to, when they say Nigeria happens to people, this is one of those cases.
If this girl was destined to be the next Ikonjo Iweala, that dream is ended.
Cut off.
Cut off totally. If she was designed to be the next Mohammed, the other lady who was, I've forgotten her name, I phone him now, to be probably the next top international, representing Nigeria somewhere as a lady, when she gets of age at that level, that dream is already cut short. So take it or leave it. Economically, we've lost a bright mind. Who knows whether she will end up being the next female president tomorrow to take Nigeria out of the state that it is and prevent us, as an economy from tanking, prevent the country from becoming almost, put it this way, quote unquote, have big issues. You don't know. But the fact that we are now talking about her dying is enough for us to, ask those questions to now say, enough is enough. What do we do to stop this thing?
Right. I don't think we should keep quiet. I think we should keep, as the media, the only power we have in our own hands is to keep on bringing these conversations to the fore, keep on talking about them, keep on seeking accountability from authorities, from from people who we should get accountability from.
Right.
Things cannot just keep happening and it's just we just look the other way, or we just keep on moving on like it's the order of the day. Lives are lost as if this thing in the newsroom, you say 25 people are dead, and then just look at 25 is small. But when you hear like 250, that's when you shake. But I think that we need to really, really, really have some more consideration for lives, for lives. And look, Phyna had mentioned, that's a big brother Phyna, whose sister passed on, unfortunately, had mentioned that she really did a lot of calling out for Dangote. She said instead of them to take accountability, instead of them to do, firstly, the press release they had even put out was lacking empathy. It was lacking empathy. They were talking about the life here. It was even too emotionless. Then secondly, and that has to do with your communications people, what kind of people are they employing? Like now, secondly, she had mentioned that they had removed the plate number of the vehicle.
So no one will be able to
So
identify
no one will be able to, where's the accountability?
Again, so this has happened. There's a way forward. Will Nigerians just keep quiet, or will they talk about it? I know VDM obviously cooking the next thing to go and say, but I would not be surprised, and this is not me calling out for it. I mean, we are media people. We stay on the fence, right? We are either in support of or in support for, but we bring to you that which it is that you want to see and questions you want to ask. Having said so, I would not be surprised if some group come out and say they want to sue. I would not be surprised at all.
By all means, I think Phyna should do all that needs to be done at the end of the day to fight, demand justice for the life of her sister. Yes, I mean, she's also survived by children, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so
she's a young woman.
Yes, she's a young woman. So it's really sad, survived by siblings, survived by children and whatnot. But that will be where we would leave it today on the social listening segment right here on the BDTV Breakfast Show. We talked about the salary battle between professors and their senators, from asking for 2.5 million naira when the senators are earning 21 million naira, to the tragic passing of Ruth Otabo, who is the sister of Bibi Niger's winner, Phyna. Well, that's where we wrap it up this morning on social listening right here. My name is Elizabeth Musa, and I've been here with
Onyeka Valentine.
Right. Up next is business news. Do stay with us.